This is macOS Ken.
Travelin' Tim's in the Middle Kingdom. Brazil has NFC questions for Apple and release candidates for blankOS 26.4. It is Thursday, the 19th of March, 2026. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from macOS Ken, brought to you by yours truly and sponsored by NordLayer. Secure your network, block threats to your business, and save with offer code macOS10-10-NordLayer at nordlayer.com/macOSken. This show is also sponsored by Clean My Mac, cleaning Macs since 2008. Our Macs get loaded with a lot of files, a lot of installation remnants, builds over time without us even noticing, even if we mean to keep an eye on it. Let Clean My Mac clean your Mac. It starts by doing just that, getting rid of unneeded system files, hidden clutter, broken downloads, junk that's just junking stuff up. But Clean My Mac does more than just clean. It is a suite of tools meant to optimize performance, scan for threats and vulnerabilities, update the apps you use, and get rid of the apps you don't. Want to know how it's doing? The new My Activity feature will tell you how much effort you've saved and space you've reclaimed, letting Clean My Mac clean your Mac. Get tidy today. Try 7 days free and use my code macOSken20 for 20% off at clnmy.com/macOSken. Make macOS Ken all caps in both places. That way they know where you heard about them and you get the discount. Try 7 days free and use my code macOSken20 for 20% off at clnmy.com/macOSken. Again, macOS Ken is all caps, both places. Use code macOSken20 for 20% off at clnmy.com/macOSken. Tim Cook's over in China at a time that is totally sensible and also kind of precarious. The sensible part, Apple CEO is, or was, taking part in 50th anniversary celebrations around Apple's founding. A piece from Apple Insider says Cook hit the Apple Chengdu Taikoo Li store in China, which hosted a concert by Chris Lee. Lee, also known as Lee Yu-chun, performed on a specially constructed multi-level stage outside the store, featuring elevated platforms and a dozen dancers. Cook said to have selfied up the crowd with his Hermes orange iPhone 17 Pro Max. It's not really Hermes, but, you know. Also, he hasn't posted any of his selfies. And maybe those are just for him. At about the same time, another 50th celebratory event was being held in South Korea. That's according to another piece from Apple Insider. This one wasn't a concert, though. It did involve a musical act. K-pop band Cortis hit Seoul's Apple Myeongdong to deliver a one-off Today at Apple session. Promoting the session, Apple's site said, from the behind-the-scenes story of the debut album to the unique art view that expands the boundaries of K-pop, you can listen to the creative process that uses Apple products to record ideas and develop them into music and visuals. Needless to say, the session booked up pretty quickly. I mean, I've even heard of Cortis, though that's probably just because of their dealings with Apple, come to think of it. Anyway, Tim Cook couldn't be there because he was in China at a time that is totally sensible and also kind of precarious. Seriously, though, it's China. When are times and dealings there not precarious? What's the current issue? Well, take your pick. A piece from 9 to 5 Mac ties current troubles with China to App Store commissions. I told you earlier this week that Apple had dropped top-line commissions on digital sales in the store from 30% to 25%, while commissions paid to smaller developers and on some subscriptions are dropping from 15% to 12%. That seems to have been an attempt by Apple to defuse a brewing regulatory showdown. Also seems like it might not have worked. The 9to5 Mac piece I mentioned says the Chinese government responded with a public nastygram. The site quotes a Bloomberg post that says after the commission drop, the Chinese ruling party's flagship newspaper called for Apple to further ease App Store restrictions and fix monopolistic practices. The frank editorial underscored how Apple, which has clashed with Tencent Holdings and ByteDance over its iOS App Store policies, may continue to face pressure from Beijing. 9to5 Mac says Apple's anniversary party atmosphere has been rather dampened by the dispute with the Chinese government. To me, though, it just sounds like a day that ends in Y, or whatever days end in China. I had said take your pick as far as why times are troubled between Apple and the Middle Kingdom. The other choice highlighted today came compliments of the South China Morning Post. While Cook may be there to celebrate Apple's 50th, the real reason is Apple's reliance on China, according to the piece. Quoting SCMP, the California-based company remains heavily dependent on China for both sales and its supply chain. Chief Operating Officer Sabi Khan on Tuesday visited several key suppliers, including Sunhua Do's battery facility in Shenzhen and Foxconn's iPhone assembly lines, according to local media. Also, U.S. tech giants continue to engage closely with Chinese suppliers, even as they pledge to expand domestic manufacturing. Domestic manufacturing in other places. Hey, that reminds me, will Cook hit India to celebrate Apple's 50th? I mean, it's on the way back, depending which way you go. China's not the only area giving Apple the agita. 9to5 Mac says competition authorities in Brazil have questions for Apple, and they want answers soon. CADE, the Brazilian Competition Authority, has been investigating whether Apple is unfairly limiting third-party payment providers' access to the iPhone's NFC compared to Apple's own services. 9to5 Mac is working with news from a Brazilian site, and I can't help wondering whether something's getting lost in translation. CADE said to be looking into whether NFC access is limited, though the piece has Apple pointing out that third-party developers have had access to the iPhone's NFC since 2024. In its own defense, Apple says iPhone controls just 10% of the Brazilian smartphone market, and besides, there's nothing in Brazilian law that prevents it from charging a fee for its services. Still, the authorities want answers. According to the report from which the 9to5 Mac piece was written, on Tuesday, the 17th of March, regulators sent a formal notice to Apple requesting information on fees, technical requirements, and contracts signed with developers in Brazil. Apple has until the 30th of March to respond. More news in a moment, but first a word from today's sponsor, NordLayer, toggle-ready network security built for today's business. How much is too much to pay to protect your business? It's kind of a scary question, but not one you have to worry about with NordLayer. Layered over the hardware you're already using, NordLayer offers access control, threat protection, and a VPN for your business, starting at just $8 per user per month. More than that, they have recently partnered with CrowdStrike to bring Falcon endpoint protection to small and mid-sized businesses. That is 2 companies protecting your company for the same starting price of $8 per user per month. With malware, ransomware, and phishing attempts targeting businesses big and small, can your business afford to be without the kind of protection offered by NordLayer? You can start for just $8 per user per month. There are special rates for teams with 100 seats or more, and there is an exclusive offer for macOS Ken listeners. Get up to 22% off NordLayer yearly plans plus 10% on top with offer code macOSken-10-NordLayer at nordlayer.com/macOSken. Try it risk-free with their 14-day money-back guarantee. NordLayer. Toggle-ready network security built for your business. Get savings on top of savings with offer code macOSken-10-NordLayer at nordlayer.com/macOSken. We seem to be closer to the next round of OS updates than I'd have expected personally. Mac Rumors ran a number of pieces that had Apple seeding release candidates of blankOS 26.4 to developers on Wednesday. That was all of the biggies, including iOS, iPadOS, macOS, watchOS, tvOS, and visionOS, and they got all the fixins. Which is to say they fix or address a few issues and bring new features as well. Or will. Par exemple, the update for iPhone addresses a keyboard issue according to another piece from Mac Rumors. That report says there was a bug in iOS that caused some characters to be missed when a user was typing quickly. The character appeared to be tapped in the keyboard but was ultimately not inserted. I can't help wondering whether that explains some of the problems I've been having with Duolingo. Then again, after 160 plus days of daily exercises, no hablo español muy bien. And yes, I had to look that up. Anyway, my scores might get better after iOS 26.4. That is said to offer improved keyboard accuracy when typing quickly, which I tend to do. Less a tech fix, more a quality of life thing. Yet another piece from Mac Rumors says people doing family sharing with Apple services will no longer have to share a payment method starting with blankOS 26.4. Once the update hits, adult members of the family will be able to use their own payment method for purchases rather than being forced to share a payment method. According to Apple's old and current family sharing notes, the family organizer pays for everyone's purchases unless they turn off purchase sharing. Starting with the 26.4 updates, Apple's notes say the family organizer pays for everyone's purchases unless they turn off purchase sharing or other adult family members use their own payment method to make purchases. Moving to Apple's timepiece, 9 to 5 Mac notes a change to the workout app on Apple Watch. Since the arrival of iOS 26, users have had to hit a play button in the workout app to get the workout started. While that might cut down on accidentally starting workouts, the piece points out that that is not how it's worked for the last decade and feels kind of clunky. Starting in watchOS 26.4, Apple's notes say workout type icon in the workout app lets you start a workout with a single tap. Now, 9 to 5 Mac says the workout icon label and the play button do the same exact thing. Start tracking your workout. Even Apple TV is getting an update this time. Back to Mac Rumors we go, where we find tvOS 26.4 getting a new Genius Browse feature. It's like browsing, but with help? Apparently that section of tvOS will recommend TV shows and movies across multiple suggested categories. According to the piece, suggestions vary based on a user's content preferences, and the categories are updated regularly. Some example categories include upbeat workplace comedies, tense psychological thrillers, history gets hilarious, breathtaking nature docs, thrilling blockbusters, bittersweet family dramas, and fun for the whole family. While the Apple TV app is on just about any smart device with a screen at this point, Genius Browse will only call one device home. Apple is limiting Genius Browse to tvOS 26.4, according to Mac Rumors, meaning no Genius browsing for the rest of the blankOS 26.4 updates. Now, I mentioned that these release candidates were seeded to developers, right? Public testers should see them soon. Pieces from both Mac Rumors and 9to5Mac have those sites expecting public releases of all the operating systems next week. Like I said before, that feels kind of early to me. I'm not a betting man, but if I were, my money would be on week after next. Not sure why, just a feeling, could be wrong. Place no bets. macOS Ken, brought to you by me, and sponsored by Clean My Mac. Try 7 days free and use my code macOSKen20 for 20% off at clnmy.com/macOSKen. This show is also sponsored by NordLayer, toggle-ready network security built for your business. Get savings on top of savings with offer code macOSKen-10-NordLayer at nordlayer.com/macOSKen. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media, online at backbeatmedia.com. You can find me on Mastodon, macOSKen at mastodon.social. You can also send me an email, info@macOSKen.com. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Everyone's a robot.